All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that we all think about sooner or later: wrinkles and white hair. They kind of just show up one day. But what's the real science happening under the surface? Well, we're about to find out. You know that moment, right? You're just looking in the mirror, minding your own business, and you see it: a new little line or a single white hair that definitely wasn't there yesterday. You're thinking, whoa, where did that come from? Well, today, we're getting into the biology behind these totally natural changes. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about our skin. Why do those fine lines and wrinkles eventually decide to move in? The answer, it turns out, is all about two superstar proteins. Let's meet the two main players here: collagen and elastin. You can think of them as the absolute dream team for your skin. They work together to create this strong but super flexible foundation that keeps everything looking smooth and feeling firm. I love this analogy because it just makes so much sense. Collagen is literally the scaffolding that holds your skin up. So it's pretty easy to imagine what happens when that scaffolding starts to get a little weaker over time. Yep, the surface starts to show a few cracks. And here's the thing: as we get older, our bodies just naturally start to slow down on making new collagen. It's a fact of life. So with less of that crucial scaffolding being built, our skin starts to lose some of its structure. And that's exactly when those lines and wrinkles start to form. But listen, it's not just about the clock ticking away. Other things can totally speed up the process. Sun exposure is a huge one. That UV light is really tough on our skin cells. Smoking is another because it reduces blood flow, basically starving the skin of what it needs. And yeah, even a life full of smiles and frowns, those repeated expressions eventually create grooves that can stick around for good. So that's the story with our skin. It's a gradual loss of that internal structure. Now, what about our hair? What's the deal with it losing its color? Well, it turns out a surprisingly similar process is going on. When it comes to your hair's natural color, whether it's black, brown, red, or blonde, it all comes down to one little thing: a pigment called melanin. It's made by these specialized cells way down in your hair follicles. This paint analogy, it's pretty much perfect. Imagine every single hair follicle as its own tiny paint factory. As a new strand of hair starts to grow, it gets a fresh coat of this melanin paint, and that's what gives it its color. So what happens over time? Well, as we age, those little paint factories, those pigment-producing cells, they just start to, well, they start to shut down. So with fewer factories making melanin, new hair grows in with less and less pigment. That's why it looks gray, silver, or eventually totally white. The paint has run out. And yeah, you guessed it, just like with our skin, some things can speed this whole process up. Genetics are by far the biggest player here. If your parents went gray early, odds are pretty good that you might too. But studies also point to things like major stress and even not getting enough of certain vitamins like B12. So hey, if you spotted a gray hair in your 20s, seriously, don't sweat it. It's actually way more common than you think, and a lot of the time it has nothing to do with stress or anything else. It's just your genetic blueprint doing its thing. Wrinkles and white hair get all the attention, but they're really just two pieces of a much, much bigger and completely natural picture of how our bodies change over time. For instance, on the surface, you've got things like losing some of the fat under our skin, which can lead to a little sagging, or our skin getting drier as we produce less oil. But there are deeper changes happening too, to our bones, our muscles, even our metabolism. It's all part of the same natural journey. Okay, I know this can all sound a little doom and gloom, right? Like it's totally inevitable. But here's where it gets really interesting and honestly pretty empowering. While we can't stop time, we absolutely have some say in how fast these changes happen.
And the best part? It's not some complicated secret. It really boils down to a few super powerful habits. Things like eating a diet that's packed with vitamins and antioxidants, being really consistent with sunscreen, seriously, it's a game changer, and getting regular exercise to keep that blood flowing. And of course, doing our best to manage stress and stay away from things like smoking. It all adds up.
So the bottom line is, you are definitely not powerless in this. Making these kinds of healthy lifestyle choices can have a real, measurable impact, helping you protect that collagen and keep those pigment cells going for as long as possible. All right, so if you're going to remember just one thing from all this science, what should it be? Let's boil it all down to one single core idea. Think of it like this simple but really powerful equation. How we age is this unique mix of three things: the genes we were born with, the lifestyle choices we make every single day, and the environment we're living in. It's the interplay between all three that tells the story. So maybe the way we look at this is all wrong. Maybe these changes aren't flaws we need to fix. What if they're just visible markers of a life that's been lived? A totally natural, totally normal part of being human. In a way, they're just nature's timeline, written right on us. So I'll just leave you with this little thought. The next time you see a silver hair or a new laugh line in the mirror, what if, instead of groaning, you saw it as a new sentence being added to the unique story your body is telling? Just something to think about. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.